YouTubers, and welcome to another action figure review looking at Two-Face from the new Batman Adventures. So this version of Two-Face is based on the episode Sins of the Father, which was the episode in which we learned Tim Drake's origin as Robin. And let's begin by taking a look at the packaging. The figure comes packaged on a blister card which features the new Batman Adventures logo. The insert at the bottom features the text logo, and on the side we have the number 2 to tell us that this is the second figure in the line, very apt for Two-Face, and that the figure was sculpted by Gentle Giant Studios. The front of the blister card features 2 stickers, one telling us that this is Two-Face and another celebrating the 75th anniversary of Batman. And as ever, the back of the box just features the same inverted image of Batman, Nightwing and Robin from the front of the box. So let's begin by taking a look at the articulation. So again, like the Batman figure, he does have a ball jointed head. It doesn't lift very high, so you can't really get an awful lot of articulation of him looking up, but you can get a little bit, and you can't really get him looking down either, but it does move from side to side. Moving down to the shoulders, these are ball jointed, so they do swivel and come out, but much like Batman, they only come out so far. I mean, even that was pushing it. You don't really want to force it, as I've already mentioned in the previous review about the limbs breaking. So again, this one came straight out of the package into a bucket of boiling hot water, and any of the stiff joints I just went over with a hairdryer, just to make sure that there weren't going to be any snappages. And the arms move forwards and backwards. Unfortunately, due to the nature of the sculpt, as you can see, he's got very broad shoulders, and that the angle of his torso piece does move off at an angle. You can't get his arm going out straight properly, so I'm not sure how the best way to show you this. So here he is face on. The arm just doesn't lift up straight, it sort of comes out at an angle, it follows the angle of his torso, so you can't really have him pointing forwards, like directly in front of him, which becomes a bit of a problem with stuff like guns. So you can sort of swivel his elbow to point forwards, but it's not quite the same, but unfortunately that's just the nature of the beast when it comes to Bruce Timm designs. Moving down to the elbow, it does have a swivel joint, it can pivot up and down, and it's ball jointed so it can swivel around. Again, the articulation here very stiff, so I'm not going to try and force it. And we have articulation at the wrists, which can do 360-degree turns. Moving over to the waist, we have articulation there, and the hips are the same as on Batman, so they can move forwards and backwards, and again they can move out to the side. Now, as you can see, I'm putting a lot of pressure here to try and move this joint out, and even after putting it in hot water and stuff, it doesn't want to go, so I'm not going to try and push it. See if I can get some more. Now here, haha, this one didn't seem as bad. That seems to be as far as it's going to go. Like I said, I'm really trying my best not to push these too far. I am really annoyed that this one... Oh no, there we go. He did do it in the end. So as you can see, they do go out to the sides, but very, very stiff. Be very careful because you don't want the things to snap. Articulation at the knee, so back and forth as ever. And then we have Two-Face's teeny tiny, very small childlike feet, which I find incredibly funny. But there we go. They do swivel. I have seen people who have said that the feet have snapped off. Again, the boiling water trick, just to make sure they were loose. And that's really about it in terms of articulation. So with the articulation out of the way, let's take a look at the details. So if we look at the head, starting with his nicer side, this has just been moulded in a flesh colour plastic, and all of the details have been painted on like so. So the hair and the eyebrows and the eye. I have noticed that some people did get Two-Face with an eye where the pupil was looking off to the side, so I'm very glad that mine was looking directly ahead, but very nice sculpt, you know, not really an awful lot to say about it, because things get more interesting when we look at his acid side. So here we have some really nice details. We have all the little bumps and spots on the side of his face. The mouth has been done really well. You can see the teeth have been individually painted. We've got the black lips and, you know, everything, all the skin sort of peeled back. And we have the very dark bushy eyebrow, and the enlarged eye. Really nice. Obviously, because it was a cartoon, you couldn't go too gory with it. That sort of greenish blue colour, I guess it harks back to the 1940s Two-Face. But as you can see, there are a few issues with this figure that, in terms of quality control, that I didn't get with Batman. So first off, we've got this nasty bit of black paint on his cheek. It's only a little bit, but it's kind of annoying that it's there. And when we move over to the hair, I'm sure you've already noticed this, the hair here, the paint's quite faded, so it's not very crisp, and there's black on the ear, there's more of this greyish colour on the ear too. Turning him around, and we have all this black on the back of his hair as well. That's quite irritating. And before going on, I'm just going to point out here, bit of black on the collar, bit of black on the collar there. So the quality control with this paint job wasn't as good as it was with Batman. The bad side of his face also has this rather nice flick of hair coming off the top, which looks really good. It's been done very well. I think it's just a separate piece that's been glued into the head. Something that I found really interesting, and I couldn't remember it from the cartoon, we have this little black flick on the white side of his hair. Now, initially, I thought that this was an error and that it shouldn't be there, but looking at other people's figures online, I have seen that this is a common thing, that they all have it, so I'm guessing it's just meant to show that some of his dark hair has flicked over into the grey. I'm not sure. It isn't incredibly well done. As you can see, I'm guessing that this should be flush with the black of his hair here, but instead you've got this little gap there. So it's a tiny nitpick, but it does look kind of strange. You can't really notice it too much when you look at it from the front. But overall, I do like the head sculpt. Two-Face was always one of my favourite figures as a kid, because he was so visually interesting. I love figures that have those sort of two sides, the divides. It was the same with Two-Face, it was the same with Too Bad in the Masters of the Universe line. I loved those sort of figures as a kid because they were so different. So, really well done, but just irritating that we've got these nasty quality control issues. Moving down to the suit, this is very stark and simple. White and black, black and white. Not an awful lot we can say here. The white is incredibly white. Again, we've got some paint bleed issues where we have the paint of the shirt has moved down to the lapel on his black jacket, so it really stands out. You could probably get that off somehow, maybe paint over it with a bit of black paint, or might be able to rub it off, but for the time being, I'm just going to leave it as it is. Much like Batman, again, the shape of the figure, you've got that really concave back. Moving down to the hands, well, we've got the black cuff of his shirt on the wrist. Again, you can just see a bit of black that's got on the white of his jacket there. Again, just like the head, it's just sculpted in this flesh-coloured plastic, and this particular hand has Two-Face's coin sculpted into it. This is the hand that he comes packaged with. I'm really pleased that they've added the coin, and you can even see that they've sort of sculpted the face onto the coin, and I think you can even just about see the lettering beneath it, which I believe says Liberty. And then moving across to the other side, we have the white cuff of his shirt there. Although on this side, we actually have the black of his jacket moving onto the cuff of his shirt. So it seems to be opposing sides even here. Sadly, the hands, the sculpt is quite soft, but you can just make out he's got the same sort of spots and scars like he has on his face, and it's just done in the same greenish blue colour. Not much to say about the legs and the feet, other than his feet are incredibly small. Much smaller than Batman's. I don't know why they're so teeny tiny. Obviously, this was a design choice by Bruce Timm. But when you see the full figure, it really does work. You don't really bat an eyelid to how tiny his feet are, but once you do stop and look at it, you do think, those are very small feet. But that is how it looks in the cartoon. And as you can see, he's not standing with the display stand. He manages to stand up on them very well indeed. And just like Batman, he comes with a range of different accessories. So we have different interchangeable hands. So we have clenched fists for either side, both the nice side and the bad side. And we have hands for holding weapons. So he has his pistol and his machine gun. It's worth noting, actually, that the sculpt on Two-Face's open bad hand, it's not as soft. So the bumps and the scarring, it's much clearer here than it is on the neutral hand that the figure comes packaged with. So we have the standard pistol, very simple sculpt, just black, but you can see the various little pieces here and on the back. and that can fit into either of his open hands. We have Two-Face's Tommy gun. Again, very simple, all done in one colour. It's a nice sculpt. There is actually a hole at the end of the barrel. He also comes with this very teeny tiny pocket watch, which, just like Two-Face, is black and white. And he also has this gas mask, which he wears in the episode. This I really like. This is the kind of thing that I would have loved for my figures when I was a kid. And this is just very simple. It just clips onto Two-Face's head, like so, and that completes the look. Again, it's not overly detailed. It's just dark on the eyes, and you've got a split down the middle, and then the main nozzle piece at the front. But it works really well. It fits on his head very nicely. There's no fear of it falling off or anything, so that's really good. And he also comes with these 2 canisters and this bag. Now, if I just take a look at the bag first, this is done in a simple brownish plastic with grey on the top for the handles, and this can actually open like so, and you can fit the canisters inside and clip them up. But if we take a look at the canisters, now the story behind this was that Two-Face was after Tim Drake's dad, Tim Drake, who would go on to be Robin. He was after this key, which was a key to a, if I remember rightly, it was a key to a locker at the airport, and in the locker was this bag containing these 2 containers, one blue, one red. Both of these containers are actually different chemicals, and when you mix the 2 together, it created a deadly nerve gas or something like that. So these are our different chemicals. Sadly, they're just done in solid plastic, so it's just solid red and blue with grey on the top for the lids. It would have been nice, I think, if they'd have moulded this in a clear red and a clear blue plastic. I don't think they would have been able to, well, I guess they could have tried to have sculpted bubbles and things into it. But if this had been done in a translucent plastic of this colour, it would have looked more like liquid and less solid. So that's my only complaint with that. But I really like the fact that they've included this. I mean, all these sorts of things, like the canisters, the gas mask, that's the kind of stuff that I wanted with my figures when I was a kid playing with these things. And finally, we also have the displaced stand. So again, we have the clasp at the top, which can move up and down. Unlike Batman's, the clasp on this one can also extend outwards. You just need to push the, well, it can't, yeah, there we go. You can just push forwards like that. And again, it's the same clasp that can move in and out like so. And just like Batman, we also have the character turnarounds from the new Batman Adventures. Again, I really like this. I think it's a really cool idea to have these original designs alongside their 3D counterparts, so really pleased with that. And just like Batman did, it comes with the Batman Animated Series New Batman Adventures poster type thing with the checklist of the other figures coming out in 2015. And just like with Batman, here is Two-Face in comparison to his original 1998 counterpart from Kenner. So overall, just like Batman, I really like this figure. I've always loved the design of Two-Face. He's always been one of my favourite characters, both in the comics and the cartoon. My only criticisms here are the quality control issues. There are a few little niggles with the paint apps, so something to watch out for. I bought all of mine online from Forbidden Planet, so you might want to keep your eyes out actually going to your local comic book store or sci-fi shop or whatever, and trying to see if you can have a look at him in the flesh or in the plastic, so you can avoid those little mishaps. So thank you again for watching, guys. I will see you next time for the third figure in the line, which is Mr. Freeze. But until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.